Hey, it's Coach Dan Gordon coming at you from the root of all success with the real Jason Duncan. Jason is the ultimate badass entrepreneur for helping entrepreneurs promote their business and seek their greatest success. It was a delight being on the show. You've got to check this out. Check out the show that I was on and check out all of Jason's shows on the root of all success. I'm Coach Dan Gordon. Have a great, successful day.
Welcome to the root of all success with the real Jason Duncan, a podcast that explores how the world's most powerful entrepreneurs unlocked success and how their stories can help you do the same. A successful educator turned entrepreneur, Jason has built multi-million-dollar businesses that have been featured in Inc. magazine and Entrepreneur magazine. His life's mission now is helping entrepreneurs live what he calls #the exit lifestyle. Introducing TEDx speaker, mastermind leader, author, entrepreneur, cigar aficionado, motorcycle enthusiast, and host of the root of all success, the real Jason Duncan. The real Jason Duncan.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. I am your host, the real Jason Duncan. You can call me Jason or JD, it doesn't matter. But I'm glad that I've got Dan Gordon on the show today. One of the coolest things about doing podcasts, and I know that anybody out there who also does podcasts know this is what's really cool about them, is that you know, meeting and connecting with some of the coolest people that you, in an ordinary course of business and life, you'd never run into. And so this is one of those guys today. He made a mistake. This guy did, Dan did. He's the only person on earth who ever made this mistake, right? No, everybody's made these types of mistakes, but he made a mistake in 2016 that bankrupted his marketing company. He ended up losing 80 grand himself, and he was in a time of despair and desperation. And all of us have probably been in those times under different reasons. I know that the fourth quarter of 2023 was the worst season of my life of despair and desperation. So I'm interested to see how he made it through this, but he turned that despair and desperation into a massive transformation. And within a very short period of time, I think it was only 8 months later, he ends up walking onto a stage in Dallas, Texas, and got paid 10 grand for his very first ever public speaking engagement. And now he's coaching entrepreneurs, taking what he calls badass entrepreneurs on their own journey of bold transformation. And under his guidance, they increase their income, they get better as leaders, and they get more enjoyment out of life. So I want you to help me welcome the one and only Coach Dan Gordon to the root of all success.
JD, I am so thrilled to be here, man. This is awesome. I just have to say, as I was listening to the intro, I heard the words unlock success. And the reason I love that term is that beneath their level of awareness, so many entrepreneurs are locked in to a prison cell of their mind, right? Like it is a belief system. It is a focus. It is a way of looking at the world that says this is how things go. And I'm thrilled to be part of unlocking entrepreneurial success. So thank you for having me on your show. I love this.
Glad that you're here. I love the energy. We're going to have a great conversation. So, you made a bonehead mistake or a simple mistake or an honest mistake. What kind of mistake was it that bankrupted your company? Tell us a little bit about that story.
So, you know, this is an interesting thing about mistakes. And this is really my focus in helping entrepreneurs. And I'm going to say that what is in our lives, what we can point to in our 3D world was always created by us, right? And I'm sure that's a belief system that you have. It's what all successful people have. Nothing happens to us. Nothing is accident. We create our world. And in fact, every successful person throughout history has always taken responsibility for what they create in their lives. So that said, I inadvertently hired a pathological liar, right, as my social media director. And so we're going around making big promises to all of our clients and all of our new clients that we're onboarding about the things that we can do. And I'm like, are you sure you can do this? He goes, oh yeah, I've done this, right? And so when I realized he was a pathological liar, and that it was impossible to do any things that he promised. I went, first I fired him, then went back to all of my clients and said, look, here's what happened. And they're like, oh, that's fun. Why don't you just refund us all of our money and goodbye? And that's what happened. One by one, I lost all of my clients. It was, I kind of downplay it at 80K. It was really more, well over 100. And then I was another tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And so on my floor in snot and tears, like I just have an emotional breakdown because my ego structure was dependent on my business. Like that's who I thought I was. But even in that despair, what I recognized is I created this situation, right? And look, my belief and my focus is that any situation that you're in, you create, right? And so you work backwards. And so I started asking myself, why did I crash my business? And what I came to was the truth that I didn't want to admit. And that is, I hate marketing. I'm just really good at it, but it was never supposed to be a business. It was never my passion. Like what I'm doing now is my passion, right? So essentially I erased the whiteboard of my life and I started building Coach Dan Gordon from the ground up based on my focus, my love of what I bring to the world, my skill set, and my true enthusiasm. And that's why 8 months later, I walked out on stage in Dallas, Texas, being paid $10,000 for my very first speaking gig. I mean, everything aligned.
So how long ago? So how long? This happened in 2016. So how old was your business when this happened? How old had the business been in existence?
About a decade.
All right. So 10. Wow. So 10 years. Holy crap. Mm-hmm. So 10 years you built this business.
Yeah.
And how long had this pathological liar worked for you?
And I want to say again, I wanted this to happen, right? This was beneath my level of awareness. I hired him as a way out of something that I hated.
Really?
But he had worked. Yeah. Look, anything, and I'm talking to you, the listener, any awful thing and wonderful thing that is in your life, you created for the purpose of growth and discovery. Right now, what you have to do is take full responsibility. If you blame circumstances, then you live a life as a victim. And I'll say again, every successful person, and I've studied successful people all of my professional career, every successful person takes full responsibility for everything in their lives. They don't blame circumstances. So he had worked for me like less than a year. Like that's how quickly things can turn around.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. I mean,
no.
Businesses doesn't matter what type of revenue they're doing, $1 million a year or $100 million a year or anything in between. You can tank a business with bad decisions and bad people in a very, very short amount of time. You know that. Yeah. I know that. I've been through similar circumstances. So this guy, I'm assuming it's a guy, but this person was working for you for about a year. He was over promising. And not only were you under delivering, you couldn't, like it was impossible to deliver what he's saying. So 10-year-old business collapses because of lies. Isn't it interesting that so many businesses kind of rise and fall based on the people that work in the businesses as much or more than the entrepreneur who owns the business?
Absolutely. And it's all the leadership, right? I mean, I was feeling a sense of desperation about my business. And so, and you have to know when you're feeling that desperation, you're going to make the worst choices. Now, of course, ultimately everything worked out to my benefit, but it's something that you just have to know about yourself, that fear, uncertainty, that desperation, it's going to drive you to make poor choices. And when you make those poor choices, you're going to be tempted to blame circumstances. Yeah. But you have to understand it is the mindset.
Yeah, you made an interesting comment. I wanted this to happen. I wanted to go bankrupt. So, and I want to unpack that a little bit because I think I know what you mean, but I want to make sure I give you the opportunity to really say it. Here's what I think you mean. I think you mean is like, okay, I didn't wake up and consciously choose, okay, today I want to go bankrupt. But because you hated marketing and you didn't like this, you put out this vibe that this is not what you wanted to do. So you subconsciously orchestrated things to happen so that ultimately the business would be shut down. Is that what that means? Or is there something more than that?
JD, perfectly said. perfectly said. As everything, as we create everything in our lives. Like when someone says to me, "Oh, sorry, that wasn't my intention," I say, "Well, yes, it was." Like, "Oh no, it wasn't." Yeah, it was your intention because that's what your results were. All right. If you want to know your intention of anything, look at your results and work backwards.
Hmm. Well, that's a little personal. Let's talk about how we interact with our wives. And she says, that offended me. Well, I didn't intend to. Well, maybe you did. Maybe that was the
Well,
intention all along.
yeah, but here's the thing, JD, you have to cut yourself a huge break. Like everything that I'm talking about, these principles of living and success, they do not work unless you unconditionally love yourself. And I don't mean that like flowers and puppy dogs kind of love. I mean that you look in the mirror and you say, this is a good person. This is someone who is striving to make the world a better place, to enhance the lives of other people, to bring a product or service to the world that benefits people always.
Hmm.
Right. And that has to be your foundation. And until you can do that, these principles will not work because you will dodge and bob and weave all of the responsibility based on your not appreciating yourself.
Yeah. So he wanted to go bankrupt, but not really, like not on a conscious
Right.
level,
Yeah,
but all these
absolutely.
things that you, the decisions you made, even hiring this person. When did you first realize that this person was a liar?
Well, I can go back and say that when I knew I had made a bad choice, right? And this was like right at the beginning when I said I needed a headshot from a picture of him to put on the website. And he said, well, just grab a picture from Facebook. And I looked at his Facebook pictures. I'm like, these aren't really great. And he goes, well, that's my personality. And that's what I want. And I was like, okay, I guess he's a quirky guy. Now, what I learned about pathological liars since then is that they immediately begin to test you to see how much of a foothold they can have in control. So his resistance or his denial of giving me what I wanted was him testing the waters to see whether or not I would capitulate. And so and right there, like somewhere subconsciously, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, this is like, this is my way out, this moron. And, but the great gift of that is now in my business, I have a dozen people working for me, very clear about the fact that everybody is replaceable except me. And it's not a threat, right? When I hire someone, I'm not like, hey, you're replaceable, so watch yourself. It's a simple truth. My exec, who is just an amazing woman, she knows that's true. And I have said, look, I would hate it if I had to fire you. I mean, I would just hate it. I love you. I do. And my business is more important. And what we're doing is more important than you or I. It has to continue. And so when you have that truth, then you're not relying on that one person. Oh my God, like we can't let Steve go because Steve knows how to do all of these things. And you can't let anybody in your business hold you hostage. You just can't. And this has actually made my employees even more loyal than less.
So if we fast forward your story, you're
Yeah.
running a marketing company for 10 years. You have to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
I want to hit the fast forward button and hop over here to talk about this getting on stage 8 months later.
Yeah.
But I want to tease that out a minute. We'll get there in a second. But in between,
I love how you're doing your show, man.
Yeah.
I just have to tell you, it's beautiful.
but before we get to that, all right. So you had to make a decision to file bankruptcy. What was it? 11, 7?
No, actually, I didn't file bankruptcy. I went bankrupt, meaning like I was just out of money. But fortunately, I never had to actually go through that.
Oh, well, good for you. Good for you. So you did, but it shut the business down. So like the business is done.
Yeah.
So business is done. Did you have any other businesses or any other sources of income?
No, I mean, I was pretty much out and I was just doing like odd jobs and things just to stay afloat.
Gosh, dude. So you're out, you're completely out of business. you spend 8 months before you get on stage. What
Mhm.
goes on during those 8 months? Because we'll get to the stage story in a minute. But like, what were you
Okay.
doing? Did you decide, hey, I'm now going to become Coach Dan Gordon, or was there what happened? How did you get to that point?
So beautiful question, and frankly, no one wants to know that story. They always they only want like the highlights, like the floor and then the stage. Um, it was a time of massive transformation. And just to give you a little backstory on that, I used to teach personal development courses. So I have a huge background in teaching these intensive 3-day seminars. And so in that 10 years I was doing that, I learned a lot about the human system. Like, I'm a systems guy. I love breaking things down into systems. And it's great because that's what a business is. It's a system. Human beings are systems. How we act and react and how we think and what drives us is all system based. So I knew from that experience what I was going through. Like, I understood I was having a really powerful emotional experience. And I also knew that if I was going to be the vision of who I wanted to be and who I was supposed to be, that coach that I had been in personal development, but now with entrepreneurs, then it was going to take massive transformation. And that's why I say I wiped the whiteboard of my life clean and started building who I wanted to be. Because my life was based on an ego structure of an idea that wasn't me, that I was trying to fit into. It was square peg, round hole. And so I really started to examine, who am I and what's important to me? And the thing that is most important to me is being in the changing people's lives business. And so what's the best way of doing that? Well, it's reaching a lot of people. Right? And so it's like, I know, uh, and this isn't me talking, this is the feedback I got during that time of personal development, that I'm a top facilitator. I mean, I have changed lives. I've saved marriages, I've saved businesses. And so I knew I had the ability. I just didn't believe that I could do it in the business world. And so I decided I was going to be a business coach. I didn't know who was going to hire a business coach. It just failed at business. But I was moving forward based on a belief. And it was a firm belief in what I knew I could do. I just didn't know how I could do it. And so all of the thoughts that I had and that you have, you, the listener, about what you can't do, what is impossible, I just erased those thoughts. Right? When I thought, well, who's going to hire a business coach? It just failed. It's like, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to do this. And the really funny thing is, as I started to get traction in coaching, started talking to people about coaching, I would tell people, I'm very particular about who I coach. Now, I'm broke, right? So I shouldn't be that particular, right? And actually I was talking to this one guy, and the things that he was asking for, I was like, this is not going to work. Right? He wants someone to hold him accountable and set his goals for him and all these things. It's like, no. We like, I do a deep dive, right? And in the deep dive, we explore how you're stopping yourself. Because, I don't want to do any of that. I'm like, well, then I can't coach you. And I hang up the phone. Like, what did I just do? That was money. But in rebuilding who I am, it had to be on a solid foundation of ethics. And in fact, can I tell you the story of getting the speaking gig? Is that okay?
Yeah, well, I
Or,
do want to go to that story, but I have a
okay.
couple of questions before we
Yeah,
get there.
please.
So this 8 month time period, which
Yeah.
is not a ton of time. So you make the decision, like, I like, this sucked. I'm sniveling, crying, snotting. Like, I
Yeah.
get it. I'm face down on the floor. Been there, done that. I know exactly what that looks like, and it sucks. So you get up, you have this moment of self-awareness of, okay, what do I want to do? You wipe the whiteboard clean, as you said, which I like that analogy. So you
Mhm.
wipe the whiteboard clean, and like, I want to transform people's lives. So I'm going to be a business coach. I'm going to help people like do this.
Yeah.
How did you start attracting those first few people to even come to you? Is this going back to your marketing abilities? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
As an entrepreneur, I know that you have to deal with sales on a regular basis. I mean, every entrepreneur does. And if you aren't paying attention to sales as an entrepreneur, you're not going to be an entrepreneur for very long. But I've got a sponsor of this show called Dub that helps you bring the personal back to sales. If you want to figure out how to improve content creation, improve client trust, improve your sales process, decrease the sales cycle, because we all know time kills deals. If you want to increase client bookings and increase conversions, you need to take a look at Dub. There's a special offer for Dub for listeners to The Root of All Success at therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. And that's DUBB. What Dub does, I've been using this for years. I'm a huge fan, and I'm so honored that they're our primary sponsor of the podcast. But they have helped over 60,000 businesses around the world communicate better, to make sales easier, to make sales more personal. And Dub is built for growing teams. I mean, you can set up video emails, you can set up custom onboarding, you can do admin reporting, anything you need around video and sales and automation. Dub is there. You can try Dub now. Your conversions to sales are waiting. All you got to do is go to therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. And there you're going to get 2 weeks for free to try Dub. Plus, you're going to get 50% off your first 2 months of Dub. You can't beat that. So go check it out. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/Dub.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
Well, I started telling people that I'm a business coach. And that right there, JD, was the hardest thing, because my internal structure was telling me that I was a fraud, right? So I was pushing back against this belief.
Imposter syndrome.
Right. And, I got to be honest, I hate that term, because in this country, we love labeling things as sort of an illness. And it's not. It's a false belief.
That's right.
You're always going to feel imposter syndrome, if you want to call it that. You are never going to believe that you're capable of doing something until you do. Like when I went skydiving the first time, I'm terrified of heights, right? And that was part of my transformation, right? Okay, I'm going to do something that I don't do. Right? I am not a daring adventurer, extreme sports guy, so I'm going to go skydiving. Right? I'm going to do all the things I don't do. And so then when I'm outside of the airplane, right, and I didn't want to get outside of the airplane, because everything inside of me said, don't jump. And I jump, and then I go, okay, great. Now I'm a skydiver, right? So these are the practices I gave myself. I was inventing this process of transformation by consistently doing. So to answer your question, I was telling everybody I was a business coach, and I was having authentic conversations with friends, with people that I just met in line at the grocery store, with the cat. I made a practice of every time I was at the grocery store, I would ask the cashier, what's your favorite thing about yourself? Right? And I would do a little 2-minute coaching with the cashier. When I was on airplanes, I would talk with my seatmate and learn about them and help them. I was coaching all the time. And so when I started networking, and that's really how I started to develop a clientele, I was coaching people at the networking event. I had, it's a funny story. I was getting out of my car about to go to the event, and I had this little black stick. I don't remember why I had it. And I brought it in with me. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And I started saying to people, if somebody could tap you with a magic wand and create your life exactly as you wanted it, how would it be? And because I pulled this stick, I have a magic wand with me. And I started having these really intensive conversations. And that's how I started to develop a clientele, because these people were just like, how did you do that? And I started to realize, man, I am really good at this. I am literally changing lives in the moment. And it started to create this momentum. And look, I don't mean to talk so much about myself. You have to understand, you who are listening, this is how it's done. This is how Gandhi did it, and Mother Teresa did it, and Martin Luther King did it. It is pushing back against what you think you can't do and creating momentum by it. And it's freaking terrifying. Every step of the way, it is terrifying. And fortunately, I didn't have a backup plan.
No backup plan. We don't need plan Bs. Our ability to adapt will always outperform our ability to plan. That is a truth. All right. No, now Dan.
Okay.
Let's talk about getting on stage. So you get connected to somebody who invited you to say to come on stage and speak. But not only that, because anybody with a little bit of gumption could probably get invited to speak somewhere. But you
Sure.
got paid 10 G's. Tell
Yeah.
us about that.
Okay. So, first of all, telling everybody I'm a coach is what ultimately got me in front of this company, right? So, a friend of mine I hadn't talked to in a long time. She said she's working for this company, and she said we just got this new VP, and he's looking for a different kind of speaker, and I think that you're that type of person. And she essentially said, "Look, this is yours to win or lose. I mean, I don't have any sway with the company. I can get you in, but it's yours." So I go meet this guy, Fred Dumar. And this guy, I mean, he looks like he's 9 feet tall and just built like a brick wall. Find out later, he is he was a special forces instructor. Fred Dumar, they called him Colonel Doom, right? So I'm sitting there with Colonel Doom, and he is as imposing a figure as you can imagine. And he's telling me what they're looking for in this company. This is a company that helps people learn how to buy and sell real estate. And so people who have a 9 to 5 job and they want to become entrepreneurs, they invest in this company and they go through all the training and they become entrepreneurs. I'm like, this is great. Like, this is my audience. And so he's telling me what he wants a speaker to talk about, like motivational things and getting people fired up. And as he's talking, I'm thinking, no, this is wrong. Because what a 9 to 5er needs is to understand the emotional tapestry that they're going to go through in going from a paid job to working for themselves. Those are two very different disciplines. And if they don't understand every mile marker along the way, they're going to quit. They don't understand that they're going to feel a lot of fear and uncertainty. They don't understand that they're going to want to quit. Right. So I'm listening to him and I'm thinking, no, this is wrong. And then I think, just agree with him. Like, you need the money. And I thought, no. My other business failed because I was out of integrity. I'm not starting this one out of integrity. So I said, sir, with all due respect, that is not the type of speaker that you need. And I line out exactly what a speaker should talk about, knowing full well I had lost the gig. And so after about 15 minutes of describing this, I start picking up my stuff. And he turns to the guy next to him and he goes, hire this guy. He's the real deal. And I was like, wait, what just happened? And then he turns to me and goes, how much do you charge? And I said, well, usually it's $10,000. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's fair. And I'm like, great. Like, I am just holding it together with duct tape right now. I mean, inside my heart is going boom, 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 right? I get in my car. I look in the rear view mirror to back up, and I lock eyes with myself, and I say out loud, what have I done? I can't even remember what I said to him. And so this is in San Diego. I'm driving back to LA, and suddenly I get this idea. And I turn on my phone recorder, and I just start talking. And I talk the entire presentation. And I get back home and I start working on the presentation, and almost verbatim was what I brain dumped in my car ride home. And so, like you said, it's here's the situation. I got to perform.
And now you did this in 2016. So we're talking 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're coaching entrepreneurs all over. And are you still speaking, doing a lot of speaking gigs?
Yeah. I've really revitalized my speaking career. And in fact, I just got a gig in Singapore, of all places. And that's going to be in May. Yeah. Going to Singapore to speak to speakers about how to get paid their full fee. How's that sound, man?
That's great. Well,
yes.
so how do you, like, if you had to narrow all this down to one thing that allowed you to unlock success as a speaker and as a coach, what would you say is your one key to success?
I don't necessarily believe in myself. Right? You don't have to believe in yourself to be successful. You just have to do the steps, right? It's the reps, right? If I want to, be a championship weightlifter, I don't have to believe I'm going to be a championship weightlifter. I just have to keep doing the reps. right? And I never believed in myself. I don't know that I could say I believe in myself right now. I just look at my track record and I just like, hey, what if I tried this? Like I'm launching two businesses right now, right? And one is called No Douchebag Selling, because I love teaching entrepreneurs how to sell. And most entrepreneurs hate selling because they feel like douchebags. And so teaching people how to sell authentically. And this is going to be an infinitely scalable program. It's going to be live, like on Zoom. And I want to teach entrepreneurs how to sell authentically, not that stupid Sandler method of, you know, features and benefits and pain points and all that crap that's so BS, but really how to establish relationships. And then the other thing I'm launching is called LA Realtor Rescue, because in my company, we got really good at hiring virtual assistants and getting like creating this whole process of getting great people to do great work. And I have a bunch of clients who are realtors. I thought, well, let me launch a business to help realtors offload the work that they don't like doing.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So, am I hearing you right by saying that your key to success is not believing in yourself?
Yes. Yes. My key to success is not believing in myself, just doing the reps. You know,
Well,
it's like,
so I would say then though that because I think I and a lot of other people would disagree with that premise that you don't have to believe yourself. I think that there's really, just like you believed that you created this bankrupt situation through
yes.
intention. I think you do have the intention of belief in yourself. It's just not a conscious thing. That would be my couch assessment as a psychologist, although I'm not one. But
I love that. Yeah.
but I would say though that the key really is doing the action. Like
Yeah.
just get up and do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
a man who falls down 6 times and gets up 7, that's the guy who's going to be successful.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, right? So you fell down and you got up. Now, how do you, Coach Dan Gordon, how do you define that word success?
Success is uniquely connected to your purpose and what you bring to the world. And that in itself is the ultimate deep dive. Too many, JD, too many people are living lives of quiet desperation. They're in jobs that they say, well, the pay is good. Well, the benefits are great, but they're not doing the God-given talents that they were put on earth to do. And this life that we live is the ultimate opportunity of growth, consciousness, and what I'll call spiritual development to find your greatest self. And so success is practicing who you are, how you are, and breaking the mold of what you think you're incapable of doing. And look, I'm living proof that it's not only possible, it is inevitable. It's inevitable. As long as you do the work, it is inevitable. You can't help but be successful.
Do the work.
Yeah.
Got to do the work.
And in fact, if I may, talking about the reps and the actions, as I started coming back from this devastation, I started writing down what I was doing because I wanted to log it, right? I didn't want to forget what I was going through. And that eventually became a book called Jumping the Gap, Kill Your Story and Take Action. Because I realized I had all these stories why I couldn't do what I was now doing. Yeah. And so that book is a giveaway. And if you're open to it, I'd love to give it to your audience.
Perfect. Yeah. Tell everybody how to get it.
Okay. So just text the word GAP, GAP, to this number, 213-409-8366, 213-409-8366, and text the word GAP, GAP, and you'll get a link to download this book. It's not a sales funnel. You won't get the book and then be asked to buy something else. It's just that. And in fact, like right now, today, actually, I'm working on the audio version of it. So if you don't like reading, you just want to listen to it, you'll also, by the time that this airs and you text it in, you can download it as an audiobook, free.
All right. So I'm doing it right now. I just did it. Texted GAP to that number.
Okay. So in just a minute, you'll get a link to to download it.
Love it. Well, thank you for making that offer. So,
Yeah.
um, with this idea of success being tied to purpose and living and practicing who you are, do you, by that definition, do you consider yourself to be successful?
Yeah, I really do. I'm successful because of the reflection. I don't plant my flag that says success. I listen to the people around me, and I look at the reaction of the people around me, not just my clients, but the people in my life and how people react to me. And to me, that is the ultimate marker of success. Like I just went to this leadership conference, this leadership training, and I I was speaking my truth, and I did something in truth that really rubbed people in the room the wrong way. And I could see their beliefs about me shift, and they got angry at me. And I was in a room of 40 people that were staring at me with like really like with the skunk eye. And it was scary and it was hard, but I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. I knew that people were having an internal representation of me and they'd made a decision about me. And rather than justify my behavior or do a big apology and try to back it up, I just stood in the fire of their disapproval. And ultimately, as it always happens, by the end of the course, people are hugging me and thanking me and saying, wow, you like, I had this whole different opinion of you. You really, made an impact on me because I'm, I'm willing to be a target of people's struggle long enough to where they realize that they're creating their struggle, not me.
Hmm.
And so to me, that was such a successful experience because I saw the transformation in the other people. And what was so funny at the end of the weekend, they were saying, wow, you really had a huge breakthrough, Dan. And I was like, oh, yeah, thanks. And I was thinking, actually, you had the breakthrough, but okay, great. It was me.
Well, as we get ready to kind of close this
Yeah.
conversation down, I want to give you the opportunity to give some advice. So you've now been a coach, you've been speaking on stages internationally,
Yeah.
and you've got some advice you can give the entrepreneurs who are listening to the show. What's your best piece of advice? If they are out there and they want to become successful, what's that one best piece of advice? And you can't go back to the don't believe in yourself and take action. We already talked about that. So you
Oh, no, no, no.
got to go to
No, I
another
got
one.
it.
What's your best piece?
Get more sleep.
Wow.
So here's the thing that most entrepreneurs really struggle with. They don't get enough sleep. They have too much stress. They're not focused and they don't think about their performance. Now, this is something that I was really struggling with, sleep being the main issue. And like when I talk with people, I'm like, how much sleep are you getting? And so I started doing a lot of different things. I tried meditating. I suck at that. I have this ultimate monkey mind. Maybe you can tell. I tried microdosing, all these things. And I finally found this thing. It's called binaural beats. And it is music. It's essentially music. And underneath the music are these audio waveforms that go into your brain and restructure how your brain processes information. And so I started using this product called Nucalm, Nucalm. And what I discovered about them, they're used by over 50 professional sports teams, the NFL, the NHL, the Department of Defense uses these, special forces use it, the Navy SEALs, the Air Force all use Nucalm because it is this ultimate tool of focus and performance. This thing, I called him up, I talked to him, and I became friends with the CEO, Jim Poole. And it turns out it is a class 3 medical device that was sanctioned by the FDA. And I said, look, I'm using this thing. I want everybody to use it. And I said, I'd like to have a free trial to give to people. And he goes, yeah, sure. So if you want a free trial of this, you got to try it. Just text the word calm, CALM, to that same number, 213-409-8366. Text calm, CALM, and download Nucalm on your phone. And it literally just music that you listen to. I use it at night as I'm going to sleep. I use it in the morning to, there's this thing that it gives you the sense that you've had 8 full hours, because I can usually only sleep 5 hours. So I do 30 minutes of new calm in the morning. Midday, I do rescue, which enhances my focus. There's all these different channels on it. And it is the ultimate game changer. And there, Tony Robbins is involved in it. In fact, one of the new calm pieces of audio is Tony Robbins talking. So it's like this double thing. You get this intensive coaching, and also underneath it, you get this really cool performance enhancing waveform into your brain. And I was drag kicking and screaming to this. It sounded like a load of crap until I started doing it. And holy crap, it is amazing. So please give it a try. Yeah.
Get more sleep. All right. Well, so just on the heels of springing forward,
Yes,
I am losing sleep. I can't. This is the first time in years that this daylight savings time thing is screwing me up. Normally, I'm good with it. I don't have jet lag when I travel, but man, this one's really kicking my butt. I wish the powers that be would finally get rid of this nonsense.
I know
it's crazy.
People don't realize how much it screws up your sleep, and it takes well over a month to recycle your sleeping.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing every time we go through the change of daylight savings is we're putting people at higher levels of stress, and it's causing more business problems. And actually, if you track the changes in daylight savings time, you'll see that there are interruptions in business, that there are dips in productivity. And it's a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. And I think that maybe that's why they're keeping it in place. Maybe it's a control mechanism. I don't know. We could go down that road.
Oh boy. Let me tell you something. I think that's why they haven't cured the homeless problem, right? Because look, if you're on your way to work and you're thinking, yeah, I'm going to ask the boss for a raise, right? And you drive under a bridge and see a bunch of homeless people. You're like, oh crap. I better not. I better just continue to be a cog in someone else's machine. Right? It's the ultimate fear-based, I don't want to end up homeless.
Well, Dan, it's been a good conversation. I want to encourage people to go check him out at dangordonenterprise.com, dangordonenterprise.com. You can look at him up on Facebook at dangordon99 or on LinkedIn at Coach Dan Gordon. And I'm going to give that text number again because I typed it in wrong the first time and I didn't get anything back. So I'm glad you said the number the second time. So the number is 213-409-8366, 213-409-8366. There's 2 words you want to text. Do them one at a time. Do GAP, and you get that book on cells. And then do the word calm to get the free trial of New Calm. So, Dan.
And actually, can I give you one more?
Yeah.
Okay. So look, I love helping entrepreneurs. If you want to chat with me, to have a 15-minute chat, and I guarantee you at the end of that chat, you will not be a client, because I'm not going to ask you to be a client, because it's not a sell chat. It is to help you. Just ask for help. Text the word help, HELP, to that same number, 213-409-8366.
All right.
Book a 15-minute call with me. I'd love to help you. Very few people take me up on that.
Yeah, well, that's a very generous offer. So thank you, Dan, for being here on the show. As always, I'm so glad to have great guests like you. It's what makes the show exciting for me to do and host, but also hopefully exciting for people to listen to. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
And JD, thank you so much for what you're doing. I mean, I see you as a warrior in the field of battle of creating greater entrepreneurs, opening up consciousness, and driving people towards the goal of being their greatest selves. So thank you for all that you're doing.
Well, there you have it. Another very successful entrepreneur on his journey to success, saying some really nice things about me there at the end. So thank you. Thank you so much, Dan, for being on the show today. Thank you, listener, for tuning in. I want you to know that we release this show on average twice a week, and we interview some great people just like Dan. And I want you to make sure that you're subscribed. And we also do this on YouTube. So if you're not watching this on YouTube, make sure you go to youtube.com/TheRealJasonDuncan, and you can check out my playlist on the root of all success and listen to well over 200 episodes now of me interviewing great people who've been successful at different aspects of business and life, just like Dan has. Again, go check him out on Facebook at Dan Gordon 99 or LinkedIn at Coach Dan Gordon, and go back and listen to those text opportunities where you text that number to get free subscription trials to New Calm, and also get his book. And hey, if you want to have a 15-minute chat with Dan, you can text him and just ask for help, and he'll be happy to do that. But as always, thank you for listening. I am the real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.
Attention business owners. Attention business owners. Feeling burnout from running your business? Uncertain if you're nearing burnout? Take our free 10-question business burnout test at businessburnouttest.com to discover where you stand. With just 10 quick questions, you'll learn how to immediately begin making changes to regain freedom and success. Cut your daily operations time in half. Improve your quality of life and prepare your business for your future exit without losing revenue or profit. Visit businessburnouttest.com now and take the test. Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.